Man, Jason has been through some crazy stuff the last few entries. He became a zombie, fought a telekinetic girl, and went to New York. Now he's going to hell? Pfft, next thing you know, they're gonna say he's a demon or something. Oh no. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my look at the Friday the 13th franchise. Today we get the first film made with New Line Cinema, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. That's right, the previous entry, Jason Takes Manhattan, was a failure among critics, fans, and the box office. After watching the franchise's success decrease over the decade, Paramount decided that they would sell the rights of the Jason character to New Line Cinema. However, Sean Cunningham, director of the original film, decided to finally return to the franchise he helped create to assist in jump-starting Freddy vs. Jason. The only problem was that at the same time Sean climbed on board, New Line Cinema was working with Wes Craven to bring back Freddy in his own movie, New Nightmare. Sean decided that while that was going on, they should try to do another Friday the 13th to reinvigorate the franchise too. Sean brought in Adam Marcus, a friend of his son Noel, to direct. Adam was 23 years old and fresh out of college, given the opportunity to bring new life into a dead franchise. He ended up making one of the most ambitious yet heavily debated entries in the series. How did Jason's insane journey to hell play out? Let's find out. The movie begins with Elizabeth traveling by herself to Camp Crystal Lake. It's at her cabin that you'll see all the horror movie cliches. Lights flickering, the mirror gag, getting naked, and the power being cut. She goes to investigate and narrowly misses being hacked by Jason. How did he make it back from the sewers of New York where he was left as a child? Keep wondering, because it's ignored entirely. Kane Hodder returns for the third time to play Jason, but I'm not a big fan of the look of him here. He seems too bulky and a little heavy with a weird bulbous head and his mask melted into his face. His outfit is even weird with like a blue button-up and jeans? Not a fan of the Jason design at all here. So Elizabeth is chased into the woods when suddenly spotlights flood the area and it's revealed that this whole thing was an FBI setup and everyone unleashes fire. The FBI agents celebrate, but Creighton Duke is watching the whole time and doesn't believe this is the end of Jason as we see his beating heart. This is a crazy opening. It starts off like your typical Friday movie, but it flips the script the second the FBI shows up and starts blowing Jason to smithereens. You'd have to figure that after all the murders, the proper authorities would show up to eliminate Jason, so it's not super far-fetched. And for the first time in a while, we have absolutely no idea what's gonna come after this. Jason exploded in the first 10 minutes. Where do we go from here? I don't know, but I'm not afraid to find out.
You will be. You will be.
Jason's body parts are taken in for an autopsy done by Phil the coroner. Everything seems routine, but suddenly Jason's heart begins to pulsate and seemingly hypnotizes Phil into forcing him to feast on the heart. What? The other coroner comes in and mocks the dead Jason's body on the slab, unaware that his buddy Phil is possessed by Jason and gets killed. Jason strolls past two security guards, one of which is actually Kane Hodder. They almost got away.
Jason could be getting up and walking around anytime soon.
We really nailed that fucker.
It cuts to an airing of American Case Files where they're apparently allowed to show actual dead bodies. Host Robert Campbell goes into detail about Jason's reign of terror and how he believes he still may be alive. But he shows an interview he had with notorious bounty hunter Creighton Duke, the guy watching the attack on Jason in the woods at the start. I'm just going to throw it out there right now that Duke is not only my favorite character in the movie, but top 10 in the series.
Jason Voorhees.
Well, that makes me think of a little girl in a pink dress, sticking a hot dog through a donut.
Fucking hilarious and badass. But he goes on to tell Robert that Jason is actually more of a supernatural demonic being.
What you think of as Jason is not Jason. That body he's wearing, that's just me.
First off, no.
Yeah, he flat out calls Jason a body-swapping demon. Don't recall that being the case in the first 8 movies. He sure as hell wasn't wearing other people's bodies while he was buried until part 6. Cut to a local Crystal Lake diner where waitress Diana meets Duke. He tells her that he needs her help in killing Jason because she knows that he's coming after her next. Diana's boyfriend, Sheriff Landis, arrests Duke, then Diana goes over to Steven and tells him that she needs to talk to him later. They agree to meet at her place that night as she needs to tell him something he doesn't know about her, but that Jessica should have told him. Okay, right here, this is one of the things that bugs me the most on my most recent viewing. Some of these characters just get thrown at you, and you have no idea who they are or what the hell they're talking about. You've got Diana, who is immediately portrayed as being this ultra important character through vague dialogue. Then there's Steven, who has no setup whatsoever as he's just sitting there at the diner and Diana's like, I have to talk to you because you deserve to know this super vital information. Someone named Jessica should have told you all this. Who is Steven? Who's Jessica? This is not good character establishment to me. That night, Steven picks up Deborah, Luke, and Alexis, who are on their way to Camp Crystal Lake.
Planning on smoking a little dope, having a little premarital sex, and getting slaughtered?
He drops them off, and of course they're dispatched one by one. Alexis is attacked by Jason, out in the woods while Deborah and Luke have sex. Knowing what's going on in the tent, Jason grabs a spike and performs one of the most gruesome, awesome kills ever. Jesus tap dancing, knee slapping Christ, that was insane. Say what you will about the rest of the movie, but if you don't love that kill, I can't consider you a true Friday fan. Back at the diner, Diana is being spied on, but it only leads to a jump scare from Deputy Josh. He makes sure she's okay, then his lady friend pulls up, but Jason charges towards the car and slams her head in the door. Cut to the Voorhees home. Dude, even if you're gonna make up some bullshit origin for Jason, at least spell his last name correctly. Inside, Jason has Josh tied up naked and begins to shave his face?
What the man?
At Diana's place, she gets a call from Jessica, her daughter, who's revealed to have a baby, Stephanie, and Steven is the father, but she's dating that host guy, Robert. Again, this is a lot of information to just dump on us so quickly. Jason, now in Josh's body, shows up at Diana's and attacks her and attempts to spit some black tongue worm thing into her. Steven shows up to try and rescue Diana, but it's all for naught after Jason throws a knife into her back. There's a cool shot of Jason seeing his actual self in the mirror before Steven retaliates by stabbing him with a fire poker. He sails out the window just before Landis shows up to find Diana dead, leaving Steven to be the suspect. Deputy Randy locks up Steven in a cell next to Creighton Duke. He knows Steven is there for the suspected murder of Diana, but he also knows it was actually Jason. Steven demands to know more of what Duke knows, but he must pay a price.
Are you ready to pay?
Oh, fuck!
That's right. It turns out Jason had a sister, Diana, and he can only die at the hands of a Voorhees stabbing him in the heart. I don't know, he seemed pretty fucking dead after Tommy hacked him up in the final chapter. Jason can hop from body to body, but they can't handle his power, so he can only fully be reborn through the body of a Voorhees. Jessica, his niece, is the only one who can end Jason once and for all. Okay, This explanation of Jason is ridiculous. In one fell swoop, you've destroyed his entire mythology. He's not this body-hopping demon that can only be killed by the hands of a blood relative. How in God's name would Duke even get his hands on such information? Was he aware of when Tommy butchered his ass up? He was dead. He didn't possess anyone afterwards. He was put right in the freaking ground. I don't have a problem with making Jason supernatural. He already is, since he's technically a zombie. But here you're stating he's some completely different being that he simply isn't. If you're gonna change up the Jason mythos, at least ask yourself,
does it make sense? No. Ladies and gentlemen of this supposed jury, it does not make sense!
So after Duke's info dump, Steven uses Randy to escape from prison and heads to the Voorhees house as instructed by Duke. At the diner, one of Jessica's co-workers, Vicky, is babysitting baby Stephanie. She gets a scolding from loudmouth diner owner Joey B, but after getting a call that Steven escaped, she agrees to let the baby stay. Vicky places her in the back, but Steven is actually there and gets to see his daughter for the first time. Joey B's son, Ward, spots him, but agrees to keep quiet as long as Steven takes his car and leaves immediately. Steven does make it to the Voorhees house and explores explores for a bit until he finds the Book of the Dead? For those of you unfamiliar with what this is,
found in human flesh and inked in blood, this ancient Sumerian text contained bizarre burial rites, funerary incantations, and demon resurrection passages.
Adam Marcus has pretty much confirmed that this was done not only as an Evil Dead Easter egg, but to suggest that Pamela resurrected Jason using the book and he is a Deadite, or demon from hell.
No! Hell no! 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 I refuse. No!
As you can see, I choose to ignore that altogether. Stephen hides as he hears Robert enter the house. He's on the phone with someone from his show, telling them they should do a live show from the Voorhees house to raise their ratings. The scumbag even reveals that he actually stole Diana's body from the morgue and hid it in the basement of the house. Suddenly, Jason storms in and manages to possess Robert's body. We then see the aftermath of what happens to the bodies Jason leaves as Josh begins to melt. It's so fucking gross, but it's done so well. It's disgusting body horror, similar to something David Cronenberg would do in his films. Excellent effects work here. Jason, now in Robert's body, tries to go after Jessica, but Stephen rescues her and runs down Jason. He tries to explain what's happening, but like any sane person, she doesn't believe him and kicks him out of the car to drive away. She arrives at the police station, and Landis sends Randy out to go pick Stephen up, where the two get in a small fight before Stephen willfully surrenders. Jason arrives at the police station, attacking a few officers and almost gets Jessica, but once again Stephen saves the day and puts a bullet in Jason's head before leaving with Jessica. Two officers decide it's smart to check on the guy bleeding black ooze. One fleeing officer is punched out by Duke, helping him escape. Stephen and Jessica make it to the diner to get baby Stephanie, but Joey B refuses to hand her over. While that argument goes on, Jason encounters young Ward outside and gives him a break.
Stop! I mean it!
He then rampages through the diner and kills Joey B, her husband Shelby, and Vicky.
Go to hell!
I really like all three of these deaths. Shelby's seems so painful, being fried alive face first. Joey B has been so loud and obnoxious the whole movie, so I love that she just has her mouth punched in to shut her up. And I liked Vicky, but being impaled by the very weapon she used and having her head crushed and the stream of blood shoot up, it's very cool, and the look on Jason/Robert's face that whole time is great because you can see he's taking pleasure in it. But after taking a lot of abuse, he collapses. Jessica discovers Stephanie is gone and a note has been left behind. She leaves without Stephen, but he finds out the note is from Duke, telling Jessica to come to the Voorhees house alone to get her baby. Duke is indeed at the house with Stephanie, but explains to Jessica only she can kill Jason, and he throws a regular dagger to her that magically transforms.
Yes, I do.
So not only does a Voorhees have to kill Jason, but they have to do it with this special dagger? Again, how does Duke know all of this? Where do you get this information? Duke conveniently falls through a hole in the floor right when Sheriff Landis and Deputy Randy show up. But Jason could be in either body, so he urges Jessica to kill both. She ends up stabbing and killing Landis, but Randy is the one who's possessed by Jason. Weird, because this happened seconds earlier.
Freeze! Get the hell away from her, Ed!
Jason's first words. Odd choice, but this is an odd fucking movie. Stephen runs in and slits Randy's throat, only to have a little baby demon crawl out and attack. They throw it in the basement and retrieve Duke, but Stephen asks if Jason can be reborn through a dead Voorhees, because Diana's body is also down there. Duke handcuffs himself to Jason to save Jessica and Stephen, but says,
Son of a bitch. You You remember me?
No, because your sorely needed backstory was deleted in favor of cramming in stupid stuff. Jason bear hugs Duke to death, then has a fight with Steven outside. It's so weird because Jason just keeps punching and throwing Steven instead of killing him. Steven seems to hold his own too for a bit, which really makes this the least intimidating Jason. But Jessica jumps from behind and stabs Jason in the heart, and there's another magic light show and giant hands start to drag Jason down to hell. One of those arms even grabs Steven, attempting to pull him down too. And for some reason, Jessica hesitates to save him. The guy who's been saving her ass the whole movie is being dragged to hell, and she legit just stares for like 10 seconds before doing the right thing and helping him out. The last little bit of Jason is brought into the ground, sending him to hell for good. The next morning, Jessica, Steven, and Stephanie leave, and things look peaceful as we get a final look at Jason's mask in the dirt.
Oh shit! Oh shit! No! That is not happening right now! No!
My overall thoughts on Jason Goes to Hell. I weirdly don't hate it. You would think after how much I bitched about Jason Takes Manhattan, I would tear this one apart with its complete rewrite of the character of Jason. Don't get me wrong, I don't love it, but this entry probably gets the most heat for its total left turn. But I can also sit here and admit that in some strange way, it keeps me entertained the whole time, unlike Part 8. It's not boring at all, it's just completely insane. I enjoy the opening a lot with the FBI setup. Love how the girl almost purposely goes through all the horror cliches to lure out Jason. You're sitting there thinking, oh, this chick is gonna get it, but then dozens of agents just open fire in the middle of the woods and blow him up. It's awesome. And like I said, after that, you can't predict what's gonna happen, unlike most of the previous entries. I think the acting in this one is actually the best of the whole franchise. Not the best characters, besides Creighton Duke, of course, but everyone does a good job in their roles. Now, I'm not saying anyone is Oscar worthy here, but when you compare them to the actors in parts 3, 5, 7, and 8, they do look award worthy. Steven Williams is the shit as Duke, and I wish he had been the main character instead of random exposition machine. Steven and Jessica are pretty weak and lame, so I would have preferred seeing Duke hunt down Jason and get an actual backstory. The kills are well done too, but the ultimate is the 10th Spike death. Seeing the spike come through the girl's chest is a shock, but then you lose your shit when she just gets split in half. The ending is excellent too. After not seeing Jason for quite some time, it feels like a gift to finally get him back in all his glory. And of course, Freddy's claw dragging his mask down is the ultimate setup for the movie fans had been clamoring for years. So I see that there's plenty to like here. But why? Why make Jason a body-hopping slug demon? While you give an exciting opening that has the viewers guessing what happens next, the answers are totally ridiculous. Director Adam Marcus has been on the record of saying that Sean Cunningham told him as far as the film went, all he wanted was to get that damn hockey mask out. Not sure why Sean would care so much, he had nothing to do with Hockey Mask Jason. He's denied saying he wanted the mask out, but I'm inclined to believe Adam. Regardless, if this was anyone's introduction to Jason and the franchise, I feel bad because it goes off the rails with the mythology of Jason and the Voorhees clan. You can make arguments that he's been supernatural since the beginning of the series, but in my opinion, Jason was a human from parts 2 through 4. He became a zombie after Tommy brought him back to life in part 6. Back to life, which means he was killed before, not at the hands of a blood relative with a magic dagger to his heart. He also wasn't reborn through the body of another Voorhees. He was brought back to life by lightning. Yes, far more believable. Throwing in the whole secret sister thing is also way too soap opera. To me, Pamela was a single mother who thought the world of Jason, but tragically lost him and took vengeance on those who wronged her. No way did she have a daughter that was given away, then find the Book of the Dead and bring Jason back to life as a deadite. How Duke knew all of this information is a huge freaking mystery, another reason why he should have been the focus. And while I do like the kills, most of their power is lost when it's being done by Phil the coroner, Josh the deputy, and Robert the tabloid reporter. So yes, this entry is entertaining with its opening and ending, gory deaths, fairly good acting, and my man Creighton Duke. However, turning Jason into a completely different entity, altering his history and bloodline, and having the most meh characters as the protagonist can make this a confusing mess. I give Jason Goes to Hell the final Friday 2.5 Jason hearts out of 5. But let me know your thoughts. Do you like that this one is completely different from everything else we've seen in the franchise? Or would you have preferred a more traditional entry that set up Freddy vs. Jason? And what was your favorite kill? Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter in the link below. Next week we go where all horror franchises go to die. Space with Jason X. Until next time, peace.